Hi everyone, it's Deb Knapp again, and today we're going to be on the floor and we're going to work on stability and strengthening your core, and we're going to start face down. This is not a position a lot of people are comfortable in, but again, you may end up here not on purpose, so you need to know some things that you can do to strengthen, to stabilize, and get yourself up. So the first thing I tell people to do is just make sure that when you get there, you check how much gap is there on either side from the floor to the hip, because a lot of you, there'll be a gap there because your hip flexors are so tight. The other thing I recommend is you, in your foot position, the big toes are touching, the heels are falling out. The reason that I want that is because what happens is it changes the position of the hips and the low back. That also gives you the opportunity to ask yourself, do I feel more contact on one side? Is one foot not touching on the outside? What that tells you or tells me is that one hip is tighter. You will definitely notice a difference from the very beginning to the end. So again, I want you to assess so that you understand what you're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to put chin or forehead on the hands. And again, big toes touching, heels falling out. All right. The first thing that we're going to do is hit some low back issues without using your legs, and this is the hard part, because one of the things that shuts down is hip rotators, the muscles under the glute. They are supposed to roll your hips side to side as if you had no legs. In other words, the inner thighs, outer thighs are not doing the job. So you're going to roll, and in the beginning, that probably will not be your range of motion. That's okay. Start somewhere. When you have muscles that are tight on one side, if you roll right, the left is going to let go. And if you continually do that, you're going to get rid of that tightness in your low back. Very simple, but it's profound in terms of what you can get out of it if you have low back issues. You're going to roll slowly. Don't get in a hurry. Pay attention to where you feel it. Pay attention to where your feet, the outside of your feet touch, because some of you, one side will and one may not. That also will tell you, pay attention to range of motion. If your hips go to rotation, and especially if your hips want to rotate counterclockwise, it's going to be way easier to go to the left than it is to the right, and vice versa. So again, that's an indicator. If you think, well, why is it so much easier on this side or so much harder? That's why. So you're going to roll those hips side to side. And you're going to do that as many times as you need in order to get rid of the tightness. And again, always go slowly. So the next thing that I want to do is some hip low back stability work. Now, you can put a block between the feet, or you can put a strap around the ankles. If you have ankles that collapse to midline, in other words, if you're pronated, that strap needs to go on the outside of the ankles. If you're someone who tends to have more weight on the outside of your feet, in other words, you're supinated, you need to put the block between your feet. The balance on your feet has everything to do with, a big part of anyway, your balance in space. So that needs to be even. For me, I'm going to put the strap above my ankles, hip joint distance apart, again, so that my feet, my knees, and my hips all go in the same line. Then I'm going to turn over, put my chin or my forehead back on my hands, and I'm going to bend my knees so that my heels are in line with right over my knees. And all I'm going to do is pull out on the strap and release. And pull out on the strap and release, and pull out on the strap and release. Now, one of the things that happens with this one is a lot of times people want to pull with their feet, which creates a problem. You've got to make sure, again, if the strap moves, you need to turn it over, which I did not do. All right, so we're going to turn this over and make sure that you're pulling from here, not with your feet. That's really important, because if you do that, all you're going to do is tighten up those muscles on the outside. We want to strengthen this, keep this stable so that stays in neutral. So I'm going to take my heels over the back of my knees. I'm going to pull out. I'm going to release. Notice my feet are in dorsiflexion. In other words, my feet are not here, but they're here. The reason we do that is because when you take a step, that leg behind you the foot should be in this position. So you're going to pull out and release and pull out. If you got a block, you're going to squeeze it and release. Now, you may start to notice that you feel it down the side of the hip. That's perfectly fine. This is hip stability. You may notice it in the low back. It's all related. It's all connected. So you're going to pull out and you're going to release, and you're going to pull and you're going to release. I would suggest that you do that at least 15 to 20 times, because that is a big one for hip low back stability and strengthening some of those weak muscles. So the next thing we're going to do, we did stability on the low end. Now we're going to do stability on the upper end. So we're going to engage the paraspinals. This goes back to what I call fundamental God instinct developmental stages, which is what I call infant. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to put your forearms, flat to the floor by your side. Your head is down. Then the first thing you're going to do is raise your head up and your shoulders go back. That's the first thing as an infant that you do. And again, that's instinctual. Head up, shoulders back. So now you're strengthening those paraspinals. Feet are still, heels falling out, big toes touching. Then you're going to raise yourself up with your paraspinals. And you're going to lower. You're not pushing with your hands. This is not Cobra. This is not yoga. This is, again, re-educating those basic muscles that keep you upright, that hold your head. You're going to lift your head and shoulders, and then you're going to lift yourself with your paraspinals. And then you're going to lower. Head up, shoulders back, and you're going to lift. And you're going to hold. Now, a lot of you will feel that in your lower back. That's okay. Those muscles need to be strengthened. That lumbar curve belongs there. So do a few, take a rest, start again. What you'll start to notice is you'll get to the point where, just like in bridging, the stronger it gets, the higher that you'll be able to raise up. All right? So let's go ahead and let's just do 2 more for now. We're going to lift our head, lift our shoulders, and then we're going to lift the torso. In this part, try to keep your feet down. Some of you will want to do this. I want you to keep your feet down because it requires more hip stability. And then you're going to lower. Head up, shoulders back, and then you're going to lift. And then you're going to lower. All right, so after we do that, we've done stability lower, stability upper. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add movement to that. We've still got the strap or the block, all right? So then what you're going to do is you're going to put your chin or your forehead back on your hands. And if I've got a strap, I'm going to pull. If I've got a block, I'm going to squeeze. And I'm going to do hamstring curls with the strap or the block. Now, keep your feet in dorsiflexion. So when I put my toes down, I shouldn't feel just my big toe. If my feet are in correct position, I'll feel even that 4th toe. Maybe not your pinky toe, but you'll feel them all. Keep your toes open. So you're going to do a hamstring curl, and you're going to lower and curl and lower and curl and lower. Again, keeping those feet parallel, making absolutely sure that you keep your feet in dorsiflexion. And you're going to lift, and you're going to lower, and you're going to lift, and you're going to lower. And what you should also feel is that checkpoint we did in the beginning, this gap closes because I'm shortening the back side, which means the front side should lengthen. Do not let your hips come up. That tells me you're not using the right muscles and the hip flexors are too tight. You're going to lower, and you're going to bring it up, keep the hips flat to the floor, and you're going to come down. Again, I would highly recommend you do that at least 15 to 20 times, again, because we want balance in the right and the left. This is about stability. This is making sure the hamstrings, the glutes, all get activated appropriately, because pretty much that posterior chain for all of the Parkinson's individuals have shut down or are minimized. So we want to make sure we get that back. And then again, we also want to make sure that we've got stability and engaging muscles. In this case, a lot of isometric things as well. So you're going to finish that out by doing hamstring curls, touching the toes, bring it up, dropping it down, and up, and down, and up, and down. And one other thing I want to mention, if your hip flexors or the front of your quads are tight, you'll know it. Because as you shorten the backside, rather than feel it on the backside, you may feel it in the front. What should happen as you rebalance those muscles, instead of feeling it on the front, you'll start to feel it on the backside. You should feel it in the hamstring as well as the glute. So that's our sequence for stability in prone.